when we talk about testing, you have to remember the MAP test was never intended to replace certification testing. So we never said, now that we've got this, let's not do the rim wash test, let's not do the drain line test, let's not do any of those tests. We've never said that. So if we want to get, if the MAP testing getting up to from 200 grams to 1,000 grams has caused a lot of sacrifice of other performance, that should have shown up in the certification testing, I would have thought. If all of a sudden the toilets that flush 1,000 grams can't do rim wash, they should be failing the rim wash test at a certification lab. They're not doing that. I've never had, maybe somebody else has, a consumer call me and say, I bought the toilet based on your rating, it was 1,000 grams, and I'm totally disappointed in the noise level, or the refill rate, or the rim wash. Nobody's ever said that to me. I have got a lot of people saying, I went on your website, I couldn't believe how much information is there. Looks like it's all open there, it's free, I can get the information. I bought one of those toilets, and now I'm trying to tell my neighbors, my sister, and everything to put in one of these efficient toilets because they do work. I get all kinds of calls like that. The MAP testing is only one element. It's bulk waste removal, because John and I thought that's the most critical. We could have come up with a test that just was rim wash, but the first thing people would say is, how much will it flush? That's the most critical element. The rim wash test is a very difficult test to do for another reason, that a toilet when it's brand new doesn't have the same rim, the smoothness of the inside of the bowl as it does when it's 3 or 4 years old, especially if we have hard water or whatever. So it's hard for us to test a brand new bowl and differentiate it when it's 5 or 6 years old from a good bowl and a bad bowl. Just another thing, just to tell you this little story, that when you talk about rim wash versus flushing versus refill rate, or whatever the attribute you want to promote on your toilet. There was an old lawyer telling a young lawyer once, he said, if the facts are on your side, then you pound the facts. And if the law is on your side, then you pound the law. But if neither one of those are on your side, you pound the table. Try and get your point across. So we are listening. We have discussed a lot of things. We're still discussing things, and one thing that we have heard is perhaps we need some sort of an index that takes into account more than just strictly the MAP performance. Maybe it takes in MAP performance as well as flush volume or something like that. So one thing we want to make sure we don't do is harm the HET industry by having people say there's a HET, high efficiency toilet that flushes 600 grams, which we know is more than they need, but they sacrifice that and instead buy a 1.6 that flushes 1,000 grams. We don't want that to happen. So we are cognizant of the fact that we may have to do something different that still is a very simple thing for the consumer to understand, such as an index, a score out of 10 or something like that. But we haven't exactly defined what that is yet.
Thank you, Bill. John, do you have anything to add?
Oh, yes.
Rhetorical.
Actually, thank you. Actually, I want to give credit to the manufacturers, the plumbing industry. The manufacturers sitting at the table, those that aren't sitting at the table, because actually they've done a fantastic job from about the year 2000 to now in improving the quality in terms of performance of the products. It's pretty unbelievable when you look at the numbers, how much performance improvement has been incorporated into the toilet fixtures that are out there. Bill didn't mention this, but he's tested not only HETs down to 0.8 of a gallon, but also 1.6s and 3.5 gallon toilets. And in almost all cases, the 3.5 gallon toilet is outperformed by the new 1.6s and the HETs by a large margin. And I'm talking about perhaps as much as 4 times as much waste removal in a 1.6 as in a 3.5 gallon toilet. And so how did that happen? I think in the latter years that MAP contributed to that, because what it did is it forced, by publishing these numbers, it forced some competition out there. The whole discussion of MAP moved from the technical side of these manufacturers' houses to the marketing side, and the push was on to compete and get better and better scores, and that led to better and better products. So to some extent, I think we take some degree of very small credit for making things change since 2003. Now the numbers, the 250 grams, the 350 grams, are based on a medical study that was used by the ASME committee back 10 years ago or whatever, that was researched by Tom Conan, for those of you who remember Tom. And then today, Professor Swaffield informed us that there's another study, other research information out there that would argue closer to 200 grams rather than 250 or 350 as the correct threshold. We'll be looking at that. Now, I think one of the interesting things I learned through a hotel study recently was, and this goes to John Watson's point about the demand upon a commercially installed fixture versus that installed in a home. Did a hotel study recently, and when it was all done and we looked at the numbers, I could not figure out how a hotel guest room toilet could be flushed 10 times a day, until I discovered that the housekeeping flushes the toilet half of those times in the room, disposing of waste as they clean the room. Now, you think of what's being flushed down the toilet by the hospitality or the maid or whatever you want to call the person's cleaning the room, and what's being flushed down the toilet in other locations, and I think both Bill and I are convinced that there is a need for separation based on the ultimate installation location of the toilet. That is commercial versus residential. Bill and I get lots of calls from consumers because our phone numbers are right there in the reports, and people these days do not hesitate to pick up the phone. Anywhere from the outer reaches of Alaska to the southern tips of Florida and all kinds of places in Canada, we get calls from consumers, and invariably they ask, well, tell us really, what toilet should I buy? And we end up referring them back to the MAP reports. You make the choice. You make the choice by doing the research there and the manufacturer's websites and learn as much as you can. We don't recommend specific manufacturers or models because we're trying to stay very objective. So anyway, I want to close that by just saying the manufacturers do a lot of credit for making vast improvements. Now, whether or not they're able to lower flush volumes even more, I don't know. Now we're getting into drain line issues that are the subject of the Plumbing Efficiency Research Coalition's current work. But the study that was done by Veritech in 2005 dealing with drain line issues of all types of technologies of toilets, both HET types and 1.6s, pressure assist, gravity, washdown, siphonic, all these types of all covered in the 2005 study revealed that in typical residential applications there should be no drain line issues. When you get beyond that and you get into large buildings, then the question is a MAP score of 1,000 going to guarantee that you can move that waste 100 feet from a remote restroom in a warehouse to a connecting sewer main? No, that's not what MAP is for. So there's lots of work that yet needs to be done, but again, I give credit to the manufacturers, and we're looking here to improve MAP and add to it. By the way, MAP is not just for toilets either. We'll see some new things coming along I expect later this year.